Hello there, and welcome to Rantz. It's Crisandro. Yeah, well, I'm back in a hotel. It took me a little while to get back here in Barking, in East London, and it took me a little while. I had to make this video because I was aware at the time that the aftermath video cut out literally after 1.5 minutes, and I think I went on for another half a minute on there as well. So things were cut. I wasn't quite sure what stayed and what isn't, but yeah, I mean, I just spent the entire journey just kind of like analysing things in my head, just kind of wondering. And well, as if you didn't know, it was the FA Cup final today. Manchester United versus Spurs, big game, our first ever final. Apparently, it was Manchester United's first ever final as well, and that probably does make sense, seeing as we both came up into the Super League at the same time. But I assume that they got into other finals and won. They did get into last year's FA Cup final, where they were beaten by Chelsea, if I remember rightly. And yeah, so this was their second final, and well, it was kind of a not. It wasn't quite how I expected it to be. I mean, we really did not turn up. It finished 4-0 to Manchester United, and it's kind of like the same kind of feel of the league game at home when Manchester United did us 4-0 as well. I was kind of hoping to be a bit more like the game where we went to Lee Rugby Ground over in Manchester, and so we're just seconds away from beating them. But it really wasn't anything like that at all. Wasn't anything like that at all. It was from the first minute onwards, really. I mean, I mean, it was 0-0 going into the 47th minute. You know, so 2 minutes into injury time, a minute to go. It was 3 minutes added on. 3 minutes added on time. In those 47 minutes, Rachel Williams, the Manchester United's striker, she had two gilt-edged headers, which narrowly missed, or one went over, one went wide. They also had two efforts cleared off the line. They were literally all over us. They had many opportunities as well but most went over or wide. There was even an incident where Nars was kicked in the head and she was actually standing up. Referee gave nothing but a free kick, not even a talking to the player. Um, and we didn't have anything of note. Nothing of note. Nothing of note. So we thought this was coming into half time. It's still 0-0. Not quite sure how it's still 0-0. But we get into half time, have a little talking to it, have a little word, see what we can do, and then literally Ella Toon picks up the ball probably about 40 yards out of our goal. And she gets past two players, she comes forward. Neville backs off. I think it's Bula that backs off. Everyone's backing off, and I'm thinking, you know what Toon's going to do from 20 yards out, and she did. She let fly a curler into the top left hand corner, right on half time. That's at the start. That's at the stall out really because we were not in the game at all. It's hard to say whether they played really well or we were poor. I mean, probably a mixture of both because our passing was awful, literally awful. We're just going to string three or four passes together at times. Um, but then the second half started and it was kind of weird. We started as soon as the second half started. Rachel Williams scores. She'd be threatening with a header all game, and yet we were not strong with her in the air. I do remember how she used to get up so early, and she got up early again. And surely we should know how to deal with her, but we don't. We don't. We just let her, and she headers the ball right across the goal and catches everybody unawares. Spencer didn't even dive for it because it was just too far. 2-0, and that was just inside. Then probably inside the first 5 minutes of the second half, if I remember rightly. Third goal was comical because it just kind of sums up everything about us today. And I know people are going to start complaining about playing from the back, but that is our identity. That's how we're playing. I mean, they talk about it with the men as well. You know, well, we were passing around the back. Well, we're passing around the back. But that's our identity. That is our style. Get used to it, honestly. It's just that Becky Spencer didn't do the pass. Here's Spencer. Here's the place she was trying to pass. I think it was Nilden, and right here was Lucia Garcia. Um, I thought she was a fullback for Manchester, but I think she must be a winger. Anyway, and instead of the ball in that direction, she passed it straight, and Lucia Garcia has the ball and an empty net. What else are you going to do? Scores it. That was 3-0, and we're just kind of dead and buried. And then the second half, I hadn't even got going yet. And then, well, I just kind of got worse from there because this is the goal I was trying to remember, but I can't really remember. It's Lucia Garcia that scored it again. And yeah, she made it 4, and excuse me, and it was just a poor day in the office, and you don't really want to save your worst performance. Because I would have said that losing 7-0 at Manchester City was probably our worst performance, but at least we were still competing. But we literally did nothing. I mean, at 4-0, we then started coming forward a bit more. We still didn't work the keeper. But I think they did have a chance, headed that right at the crossbar. If that had gone in with 15 minutes to go, who knows what would have happened? No, I'm just kidding. But, I mean, obviously, as the ball hits the crossbar, that doesn't register as a shot and goal, does it? Which is kind of ludicrous, but that's how the stats work. So, from what I remember, I don't actually remember that keeper making a save or anything be clear. So, I would say that, I'm trying to include the incident of that melee, which got Becky Spencer injured within the first couple of minutes. No, that's their shot. I don't think including that. Yeah, so I don't think we've actually had a shot on goal in an FA Cup final. Our first ever FA Cup final. Their second, and yeah, it was just going to hurt. Just going to hurtful feeling really, because you want to lose, but you don't want to lose like that, and you want to lose like you've been competing, and we did not compete. That's the thing that's the thing that kind of shocked me really. That's the thing that's kind of got me. So yeah. So lose that one 4-0. I didn't stay for the presentation. I'd never want to stay and see the opposition celebrate, especially when you had a couple of Manchester United fans in our end as well. I know that in the women's game is not segregated, and that's fine, that's cool. But in the final, where each team is allocated 13,000 tickets, and you expect that the tickets are going to your own fans, so that you could commiserate or celebrate with your own fans. And you have Manchester United fans in your own area, and that did jar with me a couple of times. I mean, there was a kid next to me, and I think his mum was there. I believe the mum was a Spurs fan, and the kid, obviously Manchester United, applauding everything. Lucky I didn't hear him for the Man United goals going in, otherwise, I probably would have lost it. But it was just completely and utterly wound me up. So no, I didn't stay. And the box park, I presume that the box park as well is going to be segregated for Spurs fans, but now there are Man United fans in there, of course. Of course there were. And yeah, it was just jarring, really. I stayed for one non-alcoholic beer because I'm a good boy, and while I was down, I was listening to the band strike up a note and whatnot, and then I looked over into the main area, and you see Man United fans flying and Spurs flags flying around. I just thought, nah. I mean, I was just kind of hurting, wasn't I? So I wasn't in a jovial mood. So yeah, I after that beer, I just got up and left, and then got back to the hotel. I did stay around to see the first half of the just to learn the first half of the under 21s match. That's at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium right now, so I could have got both tickets, but I was assuming that I'm confident that we would win the FA Cup. That's my thoughts. That I wouldn't have time to make it over to Tottenham to watch that game, and I'll be staying in Wembley, celebrating with everybody. But as soon as the final whistle went, a couple of my mates left, and they went straight home. A couple went elsewhere, and I just had the beer by myself. And I just thought I couldn't be bothered to stay here. I just thought I'd come back to the hotel, and yeah, this is where I am. And I just kind of try to reflect a bit more on the game, and yeah, I did not, and I could not, and I haven't found a plus spot, a highlight that I can hang my hat on. The only thing I can probably say that where there's any kind of similarity is where talk about the men's football here now. When Liverpool started to get going real good, and they got to a Champions League final. This is under Klopp, and they lost it, didn't they? To I think it was at Real Madrid. They lost 3-1. And then the next season they played us in the final, and they learnt from that, and they decided to just batten down the hatches in in the final and beat us 2-0 through a dubious penalty and whatnot. You know the story. I don't just rehash it. This kind of has a similar kind of feel of it. If I'm kind of going by that, where we got to our first under Villarham, not even under Villarham, just Spurs in general, got into our first ever cup final. A bit like Man United, our opponents today. Last season got into their first ever FA Cup final. I think that was their first ever FA Cup final, and they lost it miserably to Chelsea. And then this season, they turned it around. Although I have to say that we didn't really put up much of a fight. This could have the same kind of feel to it. You know, this could be us next season, couldn't it? Into our first ever FA Cup final, disappointing. Next season we could pick it up and we could go again, couldn't we? We really could. And that'd be something to look forward to. I mean, cause it's been a good season, and I don't care what people say. I mean, that's been, and I know people kind of moan about the manner of it. I mean, yeah, we played poorly. We couldn't pass for toffee. Neville probably didn't have her best game, and I love her to bits, but she probably didn't have her best game. Nars was not as effectual as she could be, as she has been for most of the season. We missed Grace Clinton, we really do. We missed that goal from the midfield, and as good as Vinberg is, I don't think she really supplied that. And I guess Bartrip was on the bench. You know, it allowed Turner and Bula to form a partnership, but maybe Bartrip should have started. I don't know, because that experience would have come in quite handy. Because she knows how to win stuff. She's won plenty with it. She won plenty with Arsenal. She would have probably that experience at the back probably would have helped, especially when it came to Ella Toon just barreling down in front of us and nobody coming to try and stop her, and that set the tone obviously, because once that first goal goes in, then the rest is easy. The rest is easy, because then we have to come out and play. But if someone had come in and actually stopped her, then who knows? But I don't want to have too much of a downer. It was a disappointing one, but at the same time, it was our first ever FA Cup final, and Robert Villaham's, in his first season, has got us to an FA Cup final. What can you say? Hopefully, this will drum up a bit more interest in the women's team. That's what I want to see. That's what I need to see. I need to see. I mean, 13,000. Well, yeah, about 13,000 sold out in our end. Obviously, a few were Man United, but anyway, sold out in our end. And there were people complaining that that 30,000 was a stingy amount. There needs to be more. 18,000 turned up in the semi-final, and that's good to see. That is good to see. But in league games, where it's only 2,000, 2,500, probably a bit more turnout when we play at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So maybe 4,000 or 5,000, maybe. But then it's like sporadically dotted around the stadium. So now that we got to a final, and obviously it wasn't the best advert for it, but now we got to a final and we've shown what we can do. Maybe we can actually drum a bit more interest in the home games and actually pack out. We're going to be at Leighton next season. We could pack out Brisbane Road and make that place a fortress. You know what I mean? Make it so that there's a crowd spurring the team on, because we finished sixth, and hopefully, if we stop Chelsea from winning the title on Thursday, and then we have one more go. Who are we playing? We do have one more game, don't we? Yeah, on Sunday. Was it Saturday? Saturday or Sunday? No, we're playing on Thursday, so we'll be on Sunday. So we've got 2 games left. I think we're guaranteed to finish sixth. I don't think we go any higher than that or go any lower than that. So I know we definitely can't go any lower than that. So mid-table, after the season that we had last season, that was perfect. And we got into an FA Cup final. We got to a Conti Cup quarter final, and that was a narrow defeat to Manchester City as well. You know what I mean? So we are making progress. We're making progress, and there's a style of play that is pleasing on the eye, and we are going places. And that's the thing that I wanted to be drummed in, that we are going places with Robert Villahamn. He's had success out in Sweden with BK Häcken. He's had success with them. He got them to the Champions League. I know I complain that in the men's, everyone talks about Champions League, but the women's, this is actually a step up, because that's the only European competition that there is, and that is also a mark of how well you can go. So those 3 places are important, especially in the women's game. And he got Häcken to a Champions League. we could do it. We weren't that far off before last season where we were kind of almost relegated. The season before, it was only just the last few games of that campaign where we tailed off. But before that, we were. Oh, I know that was Ryan Skinner that was managing the time, which is why it was kind of a shock last season. But she had us challenging for a Champions League spot, and we just fell away. And maybe that was just the portents for what happened the following season. But anyway, Robert Villahamn there has got us stabilised in mid-table, learning a new style. You know what I mean? Learning a new way of playing, and we took to it very, very well. I mean, it's just a case of having the goals follow that as well. I mean, obviously, the way we're playing, we need to have that confidence. And the way we were battered by City and battered by Man United within a week of each other, obviously, I would have shaken the confidence. But we have built on that. Before this final, we had gone 7 games unbeaten, and so this is our first defeat in 8 games. And what a defeat it was! But you can see seeds of what we're trying to do. That is our style, and that style's got us to the final. You know what I mean? And it's got us finishing mid-table. So reasons to be cheerful, reasons to be happy, reasons to look forward to next season. I'd say so. But it's just a manner of how we did it. And that's a bit that's kind of great. That's kind of like brought me on a downer today. But I shouldn't really be too upset because of where we were and how far we've come. And it's been brilliant. It's been a great campaign. When I think about it, it's been a great campaign, and I've loved every minute of it. Loved every bit of it. It's been good. Obviously got to see places and then obviously, I mean, that game away at Bristol City was fantastic. I know Bristol City got relegated, so we won't be there. But Palace are up next season, so that's something to look forward to again, another London derby. And we build in the summertime, bring in a few more experienced heads maybe to go with the young players that we got. But the young players have got a lot of that we were trying to mould in, and maybe that's why Bartrip sat out, because we were trying to get the young players involved a bit more. And we've got Gunning, who's out on loan, and she's an exciting player to look out for. So that's something to look forward to next season when she'll come back. So we're just changing a bit of the old guard, really, and the young players. This will be good experience for them, because they will have got all the way to the final and experienced that, and they would have learned how to deal with it. It will stand them in good stead. It's a case of sink or swim, and if they got the minerals about them that I know that most of them have, it was just I don't think the occasion got to them. I don't know. I know people will say that's probably what it was, but we just did not get going today. Next season, if we get to a Conti Cup or an FA Cup final, preferably both, we would learn from that. We would learn how to get there. We will learn how to get over the line. In very much the same way Klopp got Liverpool over the line within the space of 2 Champions League finals. This will stand them in good stead, and so you can't have anything other than pride for them, pride for what they have done. They've been fantastic all season. This is a learning curve, and they did very well. It's just I guess Manchester United, although we came up from the Championship at the same time, they've had the money pumped into them. You can clearly see that. They had it pumped into them back in the Championship, so it is what it is. And they've had the experience. They have they've played in Europe, haven't they? I think they got knocked out in the qualifiers this season for the Champions League. So they're getting a bit more experience than we have. We're actually building slower than they are, but at the same time, we both got to a fight. Well, they're obviously regularly finishing higher than we are. I mean, Liverpool are having the same kind of issue where they're getting, I think, a bit more financing pumped into them than we are. But it's with our learning. I mean, we paid that money for Beth England, so we are learning. And it'll be interesting to see what will happen next season. I mean, I'm already excited. There's a lot to look forward to. And although I'm hurting today, and a lot of the players will be hurting today, and I think Becky Spencer's going to be 34 next season. She'll still have the experience, and she'll still be one of our top keepers, and she'll learn a lot from today as well, obviously, like everybody else. Exciting times, it has to be. There's only way to look forward to it. And Villaham's got us playing very well, and looking forward to the future. Let me know what you think of the final, and let me know how you think we're going to go next season. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for letting me get this off my chest. You all take care. Come on, you Spurs.